Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Christian right. Sorry the audio is a little messed up. Psych! You thought this would be your normal presentation, didn't you? But you were wrong. Hey there, fellow classmates. My name is Levi, and have you ever wondered why? Me too, and a lot of people have a lot of different answers, but specifically today we are going to focus on one particular group. You know them, you love them, probably. Christians. Before I even move on, I would like to make some things clear. I myself am a Christian, and while I will be speaking in a manner that is purely logical, I will ultimately look at this from a Christian perspective. That being said, these Christians were kind of goofy. The Christian right movement is a movement that consists of Christians who hold traditional and conservative values and are trying to influence the government to have more Christian policies. Now, Christians being involved in American politics is nothing new. Most, if not all, of the founding fathers created this country with Christian values in mind, as that was just the norm back then. Nothing ever challenged the idea of Christianity. Of course, there were different denominations of Christianity, but never once challenged the idea that Christianity wasn't cool. They were too busy fighting on which version was cooler. It wasn't until the formation of America that things started to go in a slightly different direction. Thomas Jefferson, after cheating off of John Locke, drafted a bill to establish religious liberty, which eventually made its way to the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Now, our dear boy Thomas and the rest of the AmeriGang probably did not intend this amendment to be as progressive as we may think. This was likely to prevent conflict between the Christian denominations, as that was very common. However, the vagueness of the amendment would later lead to a wider acceptance of different beliefs, but we're not there yet. This amendment didn't satisfy everyone though. In 1864, some people wanted America to be strictly Christian, and it's here we see the earliest moves of the Christian right movement. Although it wasn't called that yet, it was called the National Reform Association. Multiple denominations joined together in hopes of promoting a new amendment declaring America to be Jesus' backyard. And while this never ended up happening, it shows the start of Christians coming together to seek political change. It wouldn't be too long after this when we would see the NRA show support for the temperance movement in the early 1900s. Alcoholism is a big no-no in the Bible, so when the movement started to restrict alcohol, the NRA hopped on the bandwagon. And this shockingly actually led to policies being made. The prohibition of alcohol was sealed with the 18th Amendment, and I'm sure nothing bad happened because of it. But the fact that any change was made at all shows how much influence Christian had in the government. Yes, there were other factors that led to prohibition, but none were as dominant as Christians trying to make Christian policies. Christianity remained an unchallenged dominant force in America for decades, but as time went on, people slowly started to seek other beliefs. This slight progression can be seen reaching its climax in the 1920s. You see, Tennessee at this time had a rule pretty much saying teaching anything but the creation story of Genesis as fact is a no-go. But this one guy was like, that's dumb, and did it anyway. Tennessee was like, you broke the law, pay up, and he said, that's dumb, and proceeded to sue the entire state of Tennessee, in which the court replied, you broke the law, pay up. This became known as the Scopes Monkey Trial, and even though it didn't result in much change, it does show us that people were starting to resist and express other beliefs. People were challenging the status quo and believing what they wanted to believe instead of what was pressured by the government. Because of this, Christianity for the first time in American history was beginning to feel challenged, like the trend of them doing whatever they wanted would soon be coming to an end. This is likely what led to the formation of the Christian right movement. Whoa, that's what the video's about, crazy. These people felt the need to advocate for policies that correlated with their religion because, by the year, their position was continually being challenged. This movement grew and grew until reaching the height of its growth after the court cases Engel v. Vitale, which banned school-sponsored prayer, and Roe v. Wade, which made abortion a constitutional right. Discussing these today with a modern lens can be hard, considering how sensitive the subjects are. But going strictly off the perspective of the Christians at the time, these two cases were the breaking point. Never before has a law been placed that seemed directly to target the beliefs of Christians. It is likely that they felt as if the government was against them and the only way to fight back was to join forces. Now, is this the reality? Probably not, but it helps us understand why this started. People tend to go to extremes when they feel threatened, even if it isn't the reality. Because of its sudden growth, the Christian right began to organize its actual stance, seeking to make prayer school-sponsored again, creationism exclusively being taught in school as fact, closing down businesses on Sunday to respect the Sabbath, and banning contraceptives and abortions. The main philosophy of this movement was to incorporate the supposed ideas and practices of Christianity into the government to make everyone follow the teachings of Christ. Now, as a Christian myself, do I believe this to be okay? No. but more on that later. Jimmy Carter received a lot of support from the Christian right, but his policies did not really align with their beliefs, so after his term, they elected Ronald Reagan, who acted on the beliefs of the Christian right. He would publicly support evangelical leaders and further solidified the values of the movement into the Republican Party. It was this incorporation of values that eventually led to the Republican Party absorbing the Christian right under its wing. And from there, we practically reached the modern era, where a lot of the Republican Party still holds fast to the conservative religious beliefs and seek a more Christian-like nation. America has long since passed its Christian dominance and now accepts true freedom of religious expression. But there are still groups of political Christians who hold fast to these ideas of making America a fully Christian nation. And they plan on doing this by gaining influence and incorporating policies that relate to their religious beliefs. But is what they're doing right according to the Bible and Jesus' message? This is where a Christian perspective comes in handy. The Bible does say, as followers of Christ, we ought to spread the good news. And in the prophecy of Revelation, the last book of the Bible, it says every knee will bow to him, which would include America if it's still around. So by enforcing Christian policies, it is spreading the good news and making people faithful to Jesus, right? Well, that's not how Jesus would describe it. Jesus makes it very clear that to truly follow him, one would have to deny oneself and follow his ways. But by enforcing Christian rules on people, they don't really choose to follow Jesus at all. And when people make it all about the rules and laws you have to follow to be a better Christian, that also denies Jesus' message, as he came and died because following all the rules was impossible. Being a Christian is recognizing that we fall short and seeking his ways because they are better than ourselves. Changing American law to force everyone to be Christian is not what Jesus would have wanted, because forcing your belief on someone doesn't mean they'll love Jesus. It means they are scared of saying anything else. God wants a willing relationship with his people, and while he was on earth, he denounced religious leaders of the time who sought to rule with fear to gain powers over others. And if Jesus came back today, I'm sure he would say the same thing about Christians in America. We are called to spread Jesus' supernatural love and invitation, but if others say no and choose to follow something else, it shouldn't bother us. We should be focusing on our own relationship with God instead of tearing other people down. Also, Jesus doesn't even care about politics. In Mark 12, he was asked, "So what is your opinion of Caesar and the political climate of Rome?" And Jesus basically said, "Oh my gosh, shut up. I don't care!" Well, he kind of said that. So, at the end of the day, let's just be more open to each other. Let's not be so closed off to people who disagree with us and assume the worst. Let's engage in discussion and understand why people don't believe what we believe. The Christian right may be hypocritical to its own stances, but it doesn't have to be. Instead of advocating for policies that force others to be Christians, it can advocate for general well-being. Christians should be involved in politics, yes, but not to spread their agenda, but to actually follow the will of Christ. That is, to grant help to the poor, the widow, the orphan, to show love to those who can't love themselves. And when non-Christians see this, it may encourage them to see what it's all about. It's a win-win. That is what Christians should stand for. That's what it should be all about. So, what did we learn today, guys? Yes, you there.
That Christians are and forever will be heartless monsters?
No, but good guess. That it is my God-given right to upset liberals on Facebook. You were like 6. How do you even have Facebook?
So, you mean to tell me that despite the inevitable fact that Christians and non-Christians are seemingly always grasping at each other's throats, the premise of ultimate wisdom is so that they are both equally Homo sapiens that bleed equally and breathe equally. Therefore, they both equally strive to make the world a better place, despite the fact that they are doomed to imperfection and lack perfect knowledge. However, even then, they should all still seek to understand each other despite the odds, so that mankind can prevent all unnecessary conflict, and no matter what, give respect towards each other's beliefs, no matter how different those beliefs may be in comparison towards ours?
No, y'all are all wrong. What you really should have learned today is how awesome I look in this hat.
But you weren't wearing the hat the whole video.